family planning and career planning don't match up. And I don't think men don't have this same thing in their head. I was devastated that I said, draw what people's favourite things are. And mine was a computer. When I went back, I missed out on a promotion, and I do think it was because I wasn't there a year. I think it made me more intentional about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to spend my time. Working from home has been a game changer for parents, and particularly women.
Yeah. I want to give you the heads up before we continue with this episode. The conversation touches on baby loss and fertility challenges. I know for so many people that is not just a topic, it is a lived experience that stays with you forever. If you need to pause, step away, or come back to this another time, please do. Just take care of yourself. I'm Hannah Everson-Frost, and this is Somehow Managing, the podcast for people with big ambitions raising small humans. Today's guest gave up a stable career for 4 years, chasing a spot on the Team GP handball squad, and made it to London 2012. Since then, she's built a career in sports sponsorship, having worked with the likes of Liverpool Football Club and TeamViewer, and become a mum and a stepmum, blending two families into one very full house. This is Louise Jukes, on choosing who you raise a family with, what happens to your hobbies when your job becomes one of them, and why the Olympics might have been the easiest part yet. Louise, thank you so much for joining us today on Somehow Managing, the podcast for people with big ambitions, raising small humans. Thank you for joining us. I think we've known each other for a number of years now, and never have we got into the weeds of your background and who you are and how your journey through your career and parenthood sort of came to be. You are an athlete turned corporate sports sponsorship expert, a stepmum, a mum, and somebody that I find your LinkedIn content to be very inspiring. Would you not agree?
If you like sport and sponsorship.
I do. I think you've got a great story to tell. So I think we just need to get into it. Start at the beginning.
Yeah, so I guess just to share my story, I came into parenting firstly through being a stepmom, and then having my own little girl, but quite late in life. So I was 39 when I had her. So, and also I've done like a really squiggly career. But through that journey, I found it very difficult when I first became a parent to then navigating work. And that's taken, she's 4 now. And I still have days where it's really difficult trying to think about how ambitious I want to be, where I want to go, and also how I want to be there for my little girl and my stepson.
Yeah, of course. I think that's really interesting because we've known each other for a few years and I didn't know that you were a step parent either. So that's a really interesting take on it, because you obviously had that experience first, which is dipping your toe in it, but it's a completely different feeling, right? When it's 24/7 and it's your child that you've given birth to. And I think what would probably be really good is if we can jump back to the start for you in terms of your career, where you plan to go, what you plan to sort of see off the back of your ambition in your career. So take us back to the very, very beginning. What did you do when you started in your early days of your career?
Yeah, so I actually studied physiotherapy, and I think that really appeals to like my empathetic side and love of working with people. So I trained and worked as a physiotherapy in the first part of my career, and then I've always been a mad sports girl. So I used to play hockey. I played hockey for England under 18s, and then in 2008 I got an opportunity to trial for the Team GB handball team, who were looking to try and get into the Olympics 2012. And so I gave up my job, I left home, moved to Denmark, and went on a journey trying to make the team for the London Olympics. So that was 4 years not working and pursuing a sporting lifestyle. And I was lucky enough, or I shouldn't say lucky, everyone tells us don't say lucky, because I worked really bloody hard to get there. So I got there and made the 2012 Olympics, and then I did one more season working, and then I was a bit older than most of the other girls. So I didn't want to, it's difficult for women in sport because there's not really a long-term career in it. So I did one more season professionally. Then I realised I need to have a career now, because I was getting older. I didn't have a long-term relationship. Like, I wanted to have a family eventually. So I quit handball and started working in marketing and sponsorship, because rather than going back to physio, I found a real love for the stories that you can tell through sport and the passion that it brings. So yeah, and then I moved up to Liverpool to work for Liverpool Football Club. I was there nearly a decade. That was when I met my partner. So I was stuck in Liverpool now. And my daughter has a Scouse accent, which my mum laughs at every day. So yeah, I was there for about a decade, and then had my little girl in 22. And then I came back to work, and work just felt different and not where I felt I could thrive being a mum. So I left there and went brand side to work for TeamViewer. And I was there about 2.5 years. So yeah, and now I'm here today.
Love it. So obviously that's your sort of career journey, but what does Louise do for fun? Like, what is it that you do when you've got time just for yourself?
So I went back to playing hockey. So I used to play hockey, spend time with my friends. But being a stepmum of a 15-year-old and a mum of a 4-year-old, they're on very different timescales. So the 15-year-old plays rugby, loves his rugby. So we're taking him to training, 2 times a week. He's got matches every Sunday. Then I want my little girl, Izzy, to be involved in sports. So I've got her in gymnastics, swimming. So I'm not actually doing any of those things for me, which is really sad, because I would love her to see me playing sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a little bit older and I can't run as well anymore, but I could still hit the hockey ball hard and score some goals. So I would like her to see that, because I think that's really important. But we just don't have the time. And because we have 2 different schedules, it's not like, we can't all go to rugby all the time. And the 15-year-old doesn't want to come and watch baby gymnastics. So it is a little bit difficult to make time for myself, but slowly I'm getting back to doing more of the things I love.
Yeah, you are not alone in that. Like the interest and the connections I've built over the last few months while I've been building up to launching this podcast have put me in touch with so many unbelievable people that have great stories to tell. And the thread that comes through in all of those conversations is the thing that gives is typically that. It is the mum, as is usual, not doing the things that she wants to do necessarily, socializing, hobbies, etc. Because between juggling ambition and a career and your child, something's got to give somewhere, right? Like, my house is upside down. That's what gives for me.
Yeah, and you hear it and I know it's time, and I could make time to go to the gym and go do something there is time. But for me, motivation to go to the gym is a 0.
Yeah.
So when I'm tired and I know I've got other things to do, that's not something I can prioritize, because I haven't got that passion to get to the. Even though I was an athlete, mine was all about team sports, chasing a ball. You give me a ball to chase and I'll be there. So all the sports that I want to do happen in the evenings, and we just can't make that work with the schedules. The training days don't match up. So it's really difficult. But also it's I love my work, and that's what's been really great, because that is my passion, and I love going to work, and I love talking about sponsorship and sport. And I think that helps then, because that becomes, something that is then an outlet for me, because I just love to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you should never be sort of afraid to say that out loud. I almost saw you when you were saying, you were almost a little bit a bit coy about it. That's okay. Work can be your passion. Work can be a hobby. My husband has said this to me a number of times. I don't really have a hobby. I enjoy to go to the gym and going out for bottomless brunches and all of that basic stuff. But I don't really have anything that's I'm hugely passionate about from a hobby perspective. But I do love my job. And I willingly will work at the weekends, and I will willingly work in the evenings. And I'm very lucky to have a job that I want to do that for. Not many are. So I'm okay with that. But obviously, naturally, with that comes over time the need to somehow extract yourself from the day-to-day and not run the risk of burnout. And I think that is, as parents, a real risk, isn't it? I think, what is it that your husband does?
He's a children's physio. So he's very good with children, but he's 9 to 5 in the NHS. So he never has to work, very rarely work late. He doesn't have to work weekends. He doesn't I work in sport. It's mostly weekends. You've got to be on it at the weekends because you've got to understand what's happening in the industry, and it's all happening at the weekends and evenings. So, I'm very lucky. I think the biggest thing you can do is choose the right partner that you have children with, and I'm so lucky that
you are not going to believe what I have written in my notes. No, I'm seriously. This is the quote I wrote this morning because this is what came to my mind when I was driving the car. Choosing who to parent with and bring children into the world with is one of the biggest and most important decisions you will make as an adult.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really believe that, because I was thinking about it. I've just been solo parenting for a week because Alex's been away with work, and then he went to Ibiza for a long weekend, and he got back last night, and it made me realise, like, I've just got through, right? And it was fine. I actually ended up settling into it in the end because you just find a way of making it work. But that relief I felt when I was driving home last night, knowing that I've got my teammate back, that is so important. And since I've been doing all of this work around working parenthood, the amount of women who've reached out to me, and I've been very clear that's not what they've got at home. You know, they are either doing it on their own out of choice, and it's really, really hard work, but they're managing because that's their choice, or their expectations of their husbands or partners or, you know, whoever it may be, were higher than what they've been able to deliver on. And that is really sad because they're living in a situation where they don't feel like they've got a teammate. So not only are they really struggling with career and their work and juggling their ambition and motherhood, but they're on their own, and they feel probably on their own. And that's probably causing tension in their relationship. It's so weird that you've just said that. But
also I think like that's where communication, like Stu, my husband, sorry, we got married at Christmas. He's very open and we communicate quite a lot. So if I'm up to 90, you know, running around and like I get, you know, baby's having, I call her a baby, she's 4, toddler, preschooler. If Izzy is having a meltdown, that really affects me. And then I get all agitated and then I need like 5 minutes to calm down as well. Yeah. But we communicate that. Like I say, oh, I'm really struggling, and he'll take bedtime or whatever. So, or if he's struggling and tired, then I take it. So I'm incredibly lucky, but I think I chose well.
You're not lucky. You're not lucky. No, it goes back to that thing about being lucky. You chose that. Like I think anyone who goes into a situation with somebody where they're going to bring children into this world that isn't quite sure whether that's the right person, they're making a mistake, because you should know. You should know that they're not going to let you down. You should know that that's the right person because you've had those sorts of conversations. I did a TikTok video probably about a month ago, and it was the biggest TikTok I've done so far. It went really, really wild. It went viral. And it was basically me talking about the fact that I've refused to be a default parent. What does the term default parent mean to you?
I guess I kind of am the default parent because I deal with all like the school stuff. I do drop off and pick up of Izzy because I'm at home and I work remotely. I organise that side of things. But I think Stu takes a lot more on with his son. You know, he does that school drop off and pick up because it's near his work. He takes him to rugby. He sorts his school stuff out. So it's kind of like we share it in a way like that. But I guess default parent to me sounds like you do the lion's share of the work, or take on the lion's share of the stresses, because when we get to work, we don't just switch off. Like I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do for the dinner tonight? Oh, she doesn't really like that. So what are we going to have there? You know, we've got to do some school meetings. How am I going to, you know, negotiate the grandparents looking after her while we go to the school meeting? So I'm the one that organises like the calendars and stuff. So I guess that's probably what default parent means to me.
And you say in your household, you play that role
for our daughter more naturally, and he probably plays it for his son more naturally.
Yeah, and that your dynamic, the family dynamic there kind of makes sense because there's such a big age gap. Like you say, you're on completely different schedules, and he's his son, right? So naturally that's fallen into place, and that makes a lot of sense. I think from my perspective, the default parent thing, potentially I don't use the word right, because I thought, or I've gone into parenthood under the impression that default parent was the person that took on more of the responsibility more generally. But as I've dug into it, and the people of TikTok have quite aggressively corrected me, it's more to do with the mental load you carry if you're the default parent, which is fine. And I probably would say that on that basis, I am the default because I carry the mental load more than Alex does. But those are my strengths. So I feel like we found a way of playing to one another's strengths. Alex probably does more of the physical things on a daily basis for Teddy, probably does more pickups and drop-offs than I do because he works from home most of the time. I work in the office most of the time, so it's not as flexible. But he also does a lot more playing with him, like super hands-on, rough play, rough and tumble, all of that. And I do lots of the nurturing, the cuddles, the reading, the bedtime. I put him to bed every night. You know, we've just found our rhythm and our own strengths. And I think it's not necessarily one person doing more than the other. They're just very different roles that we play. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no default because we play different roles. But the nursery, they don't necessarily call me first every time. They tend to call whoever dropped him off.
Yes.
So that I think the tide is turning a little bit with that. And I think there are a lot of women that feel frustrated that it's natural that they get the call first. And I think that is probably true for the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years. But the way we parent in 2026 is very different. We've got, you know, joint responsibilities. People are both managing careers, which is still a new thing. There's still a lot of stigma around the fact that both parents work and have careers. So we are moving in the right direction, but it's certainly not.
Nothing's set up for us women to be able to go to work. Like, look at the school hours. Like,
I know.
It's unbelievable, like how you're meant to manage. And like, we're nursery now, and nursery's till late, which is good, but I hate leaving her in there till late. I could drop her off at 8 and leave her until 6. I think that is such a long day. That's a longer day than I work.
Yeah.
And I know they play and they can have rests and stuff, but I do that there's a guilt about that. So I always try and pick her up, like one of us pick her up by 5, or, you know, try not to be later than that. So that by the time you get home, you've got time to have dinner and then have some time together before bed. But it's just, unfortunately, still not set up that way for women, because usually the women would have stayed at home. So it's changing, but not quick enough in my eyes. I don't know what the solution is, but there needs to be thought about.
Yeah, I obviously can't disagree. I think it is hard because I obviously get to see it from the other side of the coin as somebody that runs a business. I think about, well, how flexible can we be? We as a business, we are very flexible. Don't be worrying about whether you've got to go out and do pickup and things like that. We know that you'll get your work done. That's the most important thing. And there are a lot of businesses that have got a long way to come, but I do think it is very hard as well, particularly for smaller businesses, to allow a level of flexibility that could ultimately impact how they're able to do work or how they're able to do business because, you know, certain hours or whatever. If your partner was to describe the setup at home, the division of labour, would their answer match yours?
Yeah. He cooks. He's a good cook. So he cooks and he plays. We've just got, like you said with your relationship, we've got very clear lanes. Yeah. And I think, and he's so supportive. The only thing is, I sometimes need to go away. And looking at where I want to work next, it might take me further away than I have been. Like I went from working at a football club where it was full on, it was non-stop, calls at night, calls at weekend, which wasn't sustainable as being a parent, and changed to going a purely remote role. And that was an absolute shock for me. Whilst it was great for being a parent, because I could do drop-off, pick-up. If she was sick, that was all fine. But especially in those early years of nursery when they're sick every 5 minutes, that worked out well. But remote work doesn't suit me as a person, and I think that held me back. So I don't think I progressed, or I wasn't seen in the business as a real asset that could make real impact, because a lot of my impact is felt in person, I think. So I now know to play to my strengths. I want to be somewhere where I'm in person, where I can have an impact on others. I can transfer my energy into the work that I do and that others do. So I think I did a very big change from being completely crazy hours in working on the sports side to brand side, which was much more 9 to 5 and remote. And it was too far. So I lost a lot of me in that move. And I did it for our family, but I did it for me because I couldn't cope working where I was, being a new parent with not as much support as I'd hoped coming back from maternity.
Yeah, and I think that's so self-aware of you to just have found what you know now works. And if, you know, your situation with your family is that you are, you know, you're done with the, you know, the two children that you've got, that you now know that your future is those children growing older and you being there for them in every possible sense, but getting yourself back as well, isn't it? And if you know that next move is a bit of an open door for you to be able to do something that you really want to do, it's a great place to be. I think when you're in the thick of toddlerhood, those really early years, you're constantly conflicted about whether what you're doing is the right thing, because you don't know, especially when you're a new parent, you don't know what the next phase is going to look like, or what it's going to be like when they go to nursery, or what's going to be like when they go to school. Like, that is just something you can't possibly prepare for.
And family planning and career planning don't match up. Like, and I don't think men don't have this same thing in their head. Like, you've got to think, well, if I want to have a child, I need to be in a job when I get pregnant, because otherwise there's no maternity cover, and then I don't want to join somewhere and then go on maternity, because then I'm off for 9 months a year and then people won't already know me. So it's constantly in the back of your mind, like, where you're at in your career. Is it the right time to try to have a bigger family or have a family? And I think that's really difficult, because it's something that men don't really ever have to think that hard about.
No.
Whereas, you know, we do. Like, that's the top of our mind sometimes if we're trying to plan a family and have
and throw in the biological clock and the nursery fees and the fact that if you've got to so, you know, I'm 35, so I have got time and I don't really feel the pressure yet. But I know that if in the next few years, I'm probably going to think, oh, well, what and how and when. But a massive thing is, well, 2 in nursery at once. You could live in a house double the size. And am I really going to sacrifice a lot of what we can provide from a lifestyle perspective for Teddy to just basically be able to pay another nursery fee? So you go, well, maybe we won't do it now. And then, you know, time goes by and then the biological clock comes into play, and then the pressure is on a little bit, which you don't want to be in that situation. It's not ideal. Lou, what are your non-negotiables as a parent? So obviously you've got a career, you've got young children. What's the one thing that you really protect in terms of the time that you spend with them?
So if I'm with Izzy or Finn, my stepson, I want to be present and in that moment. So if I've only got like a couple of hours in the evening, I want to play. Like, my daughter's obsessed with playing babies, so I'll sit and play babies, or, you know, she'll help me do the dinner. Like, I don't want to try and do both, work and be on my phone and play, because I just think, like, if you've only got a short amount of time, be present, be there. So I try and make sure that she's not seeing me on my phone, or we're not sat watching telly, or just, you know, I try and be there and be present and try and get her involved in the jobs that we have to do from a young age, which is good, because jobs do have to be done. So that's probably a non-negotiable, that I try not to work and parent, because also work doesn't get the best out of me either. I'm like rushing, or I notice I'm sharper with my replies, or the stress of having 2 things then shows up on email or text or whatever. So that's probably why there aren't many hours in the day where I need to be a parent, because she's at nursery, but I do protect that.
Is she there full time?
Yeah.
It's
well,
hard.
she's a Thursday off with Stu. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So he works 4 days.
That's really nice.
I know.
He's the default parent. That's really nice. I think that, like, those moments that you have vowed to protect are the bits that when your children get older and you look back on that, you'll be so pleased that you made that choice and that commitment. I think I feel a little bit like I've still got to find that for me, and I feel as if that part of the day is very important. But sometimes I don't get in from work till 6:15, and he literally goes in the bath at 6:30. So I just feel like that time of the day is just sometimes so incredibly rushed that I've been selfish before, and I've kept him up because I've wanted to.
Yeah,
I've not seen him all day. But then he's doesn't go down as easily, or he doesn't have a great night's sleep. But that's because he's overtired, because I just want to sit and smell him, like, for a few extra minutes. But it's so hard. I actually think all the time about how it works for parents who are in the office full time, or who work shifts, or who genuinely leave the house at 7:30 and don't get home till 6:30. One of the parents works away a lot and doesn't. I just think that I find my situation hard, and I can't help but imagine how it is for people who, there are lots of people in much worse situations, and you made the point before, it's like, it's not set up, the system isn't set up to make this easy for us.
Yeah, and that's why I think when you do have time together, that's what's really important, that, you know, if it is just weekends or just evenings or whatever, that you're there. And I know, like, when I go to soft play, I do get my phone out, but I try not to do it, you know, when we're playing together, because I want it to be that intentional time with her as she's growing as well.
I think as she gets, you know, like say she's 4, so she's getting to an age where she definitely understands. Like, if I ever see Teddy looking up and Alex and I both got our phones, it honestly makes me feel a little bit sick. I'm like, I throw the phone. I'm like, his reaction is like, I can't bear to think that he will remember. He's 18 months old. He's very unlikely to remember. But to remember just looking up and seeing us on our phones all the time. And I hate it. But that our lives are on our phones, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I could be like organising a doctor's appointment.
But you need time for yourself, because otherwise you've worked all day, you've come home, you've done your parent, and then, you know, you do need to catch up. And then you put
to bed and then you work again.
I think what I've not done as well is stay close to my friends. Like, my circle of friends has gotten much smaller because of that, because I don't have the time to do everything. So what's gone is maybe some of my friends who I would have maybe spent more time with or gone out with a lot more. But interesting, I asked Izzy to draw us a little family picture the other day, and I was devastated. She drew her playing with babies, Finley, her brother, playing with a rugby ball, Stu, my other half, drawing, and me with a computer. I was devastated that I said, draw what people's favourite things are. And mine was a computer, and I thought, she doesn't even know what I like to do. So that was last week. So I thought, right, no, I'm going to get some of me back. And I think I've made that intentional choice now. So I'm going to get back to hockey on a Tuesday, because that's the one night the boys don't go and do rugby. So I've thought, no, she needs to see me doing more things than sat on my computer.
I love that. That's almost like a bit heartbreaking, but maybe that's sometimes just what you need.
Yeah, I needed that. The guilt of knowing that. Yeah, to get me going again.
I think we spoke about it a little bit earlier around the choices you made when you moved from Liverpool to TeamViewer, being very much about the right thing at the time for your family. Did becoming a parent change your relationship with your ambition? And if so, did it make you more driven, or did it make you pull back a little bit?
I don't think it made me pull back a little bit. I think it made me more intentional about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to spend my time. So at Liverpool, I was like much more of a doer, and I always wanted to be a leader and make a bigger impact by being a leader. But I was very much a doer. Like, I'd got into that. I was there so long. Like, I knew how to do everything. So I defaulted to that role. And when I went back, I missed out on a promotion. And I do think it was because I wasn't there a year. There was new people in charge, a new boss. And whilst I think I'd earned that position and wanted to show that I was capable of it, I missed out on it. And that suddenly made me think, if I want to progress here, if I want to progress in my career and have a brilliant career, I need to move, because I'm not progressing quick enough. I've already been off on maternity a year, so I felt like I've missed a year, and then I missed out on the promotion, and I thought, when's the next chance going to come? So I thought, no, I need to move for my career. And also lifestyle wise, working in sport is so tough for women. It just didn't work out at that time. So I moved for ambition, but also I wanted to try something different. And now I want to do something where I can actually have a purpose and something I really believe in, and have an impact, like women's sport, like women being more visible. And that's like my ambition, to make sure that when I am away from my daughter, and I have to be away, that it's for something that really matters or has an impact, rather than, I'm not worried about the fancy job titles or the money, but that purpose is something I'm more driven for now since I've been a parent.
And you are the parent to a daughter.
Yeah.
So you want her to be so inspired by that. And I really love that. What's the conversation about working parenthood that your industry just simply refuses to have? Because lots of conversations I've been having over the last few months, experiences vary so drastically between industries, and women in sports, roles in sport generally for parents are probably fewer and far between. But why do you think it is not something that is so openly discussed? And why is it that your industry particularly are so behind the times?
Yeah, I think like from a sports perspective, there are more men in leadership roles in sports organisations. So naturally, there's less women perhaps trying to get that conversation on the agenda. The support coming back from maternity leave, I don't know that there was any. And that, I think, is different industry to industry. Some industries do it brilliantly, some don't. And I just think it's the lack of having the right people with those having had those experiences. And sport, while sport is commercially massive and people think, there's so much money in it, actually as organisations, they're not been that commercial that long. So they're quite young in like their whole setup. Yeah. So some of them are. So they're not huge, massive businesses and have all those business processes in like a lot of big companies do that bring in the same sort of money or have the same sort of turnover. So I think it is difficult, and especially in smaller sports, if you go and work there, they just don't have those sort of support processes in place. So that's something I'd say is probably different from a sports industry to a typical industry.
Yeah, and I think it opens up a massive opportunity, right, for the likes of voices like yours and others that are, dedicated to a career in sport, have these first-hand experiences. Like, there are people sat around tables making decisions on things they know nothing about. And that is true in every industry, but particularly when it comes to working parenthood and the real benefit that working parents can bring to organisations is often overlooked. There's a horror story that I heard a couple of weeks ago. I won't name any names because it's actually somebody, a friend of the business. His wife was on a night out with her boss. They'd had a few drinks and they were talking about this promotion that was on the table, this opportunity that was coming up. And he said to her, you'd be perfect for that, but obviously you've just got married and you're probably gonna have a kid soon. So those words came out of his mouth. Can you imagine how she felt? I haven't actually chatted to her about this yet, but I am planning to. I'm seeing her husband in a few weeks at an event, and I am planning to get her in to have a chat with her about it. Now, really horrifically, that won't be the only version of that story. Like, there will be so many people who have got similar situations to call on, and that is where I think it's just so, so behind where it needs to be, and so warped in terms of people's understanding of what it is to be pregnant or to be on maternity leave and come back to work. And it's like this preconception that just all of a sudden makes you not care about your job. And I would say that, if anything, for me, it made me care more, because it made me want to succeed more than ever. It made me want to build something that my little boy's one day going to be really proud of. I would say that's probably similar for a lot of people. And that's overlooked because people aren't sat around the table having those conversations.
And the skills you build becoming a mother is unbelievable. Like even just becoming a step parent, I had to navigate, he didn't default love me or care who I was. Yeah. So I had to build that trust, build that relationship. And that's true of like being a leader, like understand what his motivators were, get to know him. And that can be transferred into business life as well. And also being a mom, like your time management skills go through the roof. And also you want to work hard in the time where you're there. So you don't like waste time on the committed stuff you should, because you want to make the most of your time there so you can go home and then be a parent. So I think a lot of it is overlooked, what a mom can bring to the workforce. But there, as many horror stories, there are positive ones as well.
Very
And
true.
I've seen some businesses actually promote people just before they go on maternity leave, which I think is unbelievable.
Yeah, we did that with our social media manager here.
Oh, wow.
Who's currently off on mat leave. We promoted her because she's really valuable to us and we want her to come back feeling that way. She's been in with the baby since she's been off, and we can't wait to have her back when she's ready because she's great and there's no one better for the job than her. So why would we not entertain that? And, I'm running this business as a mother of an 18-month-old. God, 18-year-old. As an 18-month-old. And if I wasn't living that in every respect, like, I'm a fraud, because I absolutely have to live and believe and implement in this business how I think it should be. Which leads me on to my next question. If the system was designed by working parents rather than around them, what's the first thing that would look completely different?
Okay, yes,
It's a hard question. It is, because there is a reason why it's not perfect, because it is hard.
Yeah, it's hard to get right because you don't want to just say longer hours for the kids at school, because that doesn't make it easier then for them, No. So I think since we've had COVID, things have gotten better. There has, flexibility is the key, because if you need to pick up your kids at 3, you're not going to then be able to work between the hours of 3, 3:30 and 5. You're just not going to be able to concentrate. So being able to have that flexibility where you might do a couple of hours in the evening, or, you might come in early and then your other half drops off, and then just that flexibility. And I think working from home has been a game changer for parents and particularly women.
Yeah.
And I think having businesses keep that is vital because it means that more women can succeed. I personally didn't like fully remote, but I think a hybrid version is really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it was only COVID that helped us there. If COVID hadn't happened, that wouldn't be a thing. Yeah. And now you do see businesses demanding people come back 5 days a week. And it's just, that makes it harder for women to then, build a career.
It is, I've seen it in marketing agencies. There are a few I know where the expectation is you be in the office full time, and I am a little bit conflicted about it, because the way I see the work from home thing is that for the right role, for the right person, working from home is very important. Kind of putting parenthood to one side for 1 second. If you are in an environment, a creative business, there is definitely need to be in and around your peers, because creativity is fueled by humans. And in the world that we're now in, and the real risk to that human connection, I think I personally crave it, and I want our team to enjoy it, because it, for all that it is the reason we come into the roles that we're in a marketing, in the marketing industry. And I think particularly for more junior members of the team, I actually feel like work from home kills creativity, and I think it kills progression, not intentionally, not because I as a leader wouldn't promote somebody if they work from home. Absolutely, categorically not that. It's that I think you learn faster when you are in and around other people doing similar jobs to you or more senior to you. You said it yourself, your impact is felt in and around people. So for the right people, working from home on balance is fine. But there is obviously now, particularly post-COVID, a culture of work from home almost being the default. And, I might nip into the office every now and again. For some roles, that works fine. But for some industries, I just don't think it does. And I think it's potentially overlooked, the importance of having that balance, because I agree with you. A hybrid working is the best for me particularly. I, use that morning I'm at home on a Friday to put a load of washing on, which seems so ridiculous to most people. But when else do I put a load of washing on if it's not on a Friday morning? Or when do I wash my hair, Louise? When does one wash her hair? I wash my hair on a Wednesday or a Friday if I'm working from home. Those are things that I've now found are my tiny little moments of respite, because Alex will take Teddy to nursery on a Wednesday or a Friday. So I totally get it. But I also feel like, particularly for young people, if you are child-free and you are coming up in your career and you are ambitious and want to learn and I would always encourage people to be in the office as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And I want to be in the office as much as I can, because I do feel the value in that. And I do think I've probably missed out on opportunities because we didn't have an office, it was a remote role. But I think that's why, and women want to be in the office to do that as well and have those opportunities. But that's where flexibility is really key.
Yeah.
So it might be, can you come in later on certain days? Can you come in earlier? Can you leave earlier? So I just think the key to making a change is that flexibility and being able to trust people that, they're going off at 3. I mean, I now looking back at it, I feel terrible because I used to see like the mums leave early and then I'd be staying an extra 2 hours or whatever. I mean, I don't know why I was staying longer, but they would leave like really early or on the dot and I think, they're getting off early. And now I'm a parent, I'm like, I feel so guilty that I ever had that thought, because
I think everyone's the same.
Yeah, you don't know
really
like what everybody's going through and the experiences they're having. And as you're younger, you're just thinking, I'm working all these hours and not progressing, whereas they're, the leader and they're clocking off at this time. And now, you see
Little do they know.
Yeah, exactly. That they're going home and doing another 10 hours.
It's crazy because I'm exactly the same. I've said it out loud. So it's like, I feel awful for some of the thoughts I had in my head before. Like when people were going off sick with their kids, I was just thinking, God, they can't be that sick that much. They're sick all the time. And it is a real issue. And I was literally back after mat leave for 2 days and I was sat in someone's appraisal, just sat down to go through all of the feedback, and the phone rang. And honestly, I was actually physically upset because I felt like, that person's appraisal was very important to them, and I felt like I was taken away from that. And that's what's so upsetting to me. But I was just so overwhelmed by the fact that I literally just got here, just sat down with a coffee at the desk, and that happened week after week after week for 3 months until he got every bug under the sun and built up an immunity. So I now feel so bad. You just think, oh God, it just, but it's so hard because you can't relate to these things until you're physically living in it. And I think, I don't expect many people that don't have kids to listen to this podcast, but I would really love them to, because I do think hearing it firsthand from parents who quite clearly are ambitious and quite clearly do care about their jobs, this isn't us wanting to do less. It's us carrying so much more that just making it work and just surviving is actually progress.
I think you're going to feel guilty in the day. Like you felt guilty about like that person's appraisal, or you'd felt guilty that your Teddy was sick again. Like you're going to feel guilt but I think guilt sometimes can be good for you to think, why am I feeling guilty? Where have I not spent my time, or where does this not align with my ambition or my goals? And I've recently reevaluated my goals and ambition, and that's been incredible for me and my mindset, because I've really looked at where do I want to spend time, like I said, and what do I want to achieve, and how does then what I do align with that? And then that then helps the guilt as well. If I need to be away down in London for a few days because this meets this goal, it stops me then having a guilty feeling about I'm going to miss 2 nights of bedtime, or she's going to cry and be upset because where am I, and I'm going to be the mum with the computer as a hobby. But you have to think about that guilt, and that's why I'm not just going, I want to be more intentional, and that's what being a parent has taught me now.
Do you do anything practical in terms of that? Because you just spoke there about goals, and I've listened to a couple of podcasts recently about intentional goal setting and vision boards and things like that. And it's not really my thing, to be honest. I've never really been into that almost spiritual side of being ambitious and getting behind the woo-woo stuff. But I love it. I like listening to it. I'm fascinated by it. So do you do anything practical that you would say is helpful?
You know what? It was because I started doing my LinkedIn more intentionally. And because of that, I wanted to think about, what are my content pillars and what could I own and what could Lou be known for?
Yeah.
And so that was why I sat down and wrote my goals, wrote down what inspires me. And then from there, I was able to build a bit of a narrative of who I wanted to be and kind of build my personal brand that sounds really cringe, but it has helped me be so intentional. And, if there's I get invited to a lot of like industry events, but if it doesn't align with my goals, it's much more easy for me to go, no, that's not going to align with my goals. I don't want to go to that, and therefore protect my time. So it's really helped me. And I'm not a woo-woo, like I don't do all that. I've started a little bit journaling. I got a coach who's been really helpful. And I've started to write like a list of the things I succeed in for the week. And that's helped me with a mindset confidence thing, because you know, I'm going through a period where my confidence is in my boots. So that sort of thing's really helping me, and the goal setting. But I'm like you, like I've never written them down before. And they're very professional goals. And I do have personal goals as well, like getting back to playing hockey at the ripe old age of 42.
Just, you said there about just like sitting and reflecting about it. And actually that's just something we just don't tend to do. We don't take the time to just take ourselves out of the chaos and go, what is it we actually want? And that in itself gives you more clarity. Like just going 100 miles an hour all of the time and getting through every day is probably a really bad use of time.
And I get terrible FOMO. I don't know about you, but I don't want to miss anything. And I do miss stuff because I'm a mum.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss out my daughter. So like it helped me with my FOMO. Like, oh, I didn't get to that event. Oh no, I've missed out on that good time, or I've missed out on that event, missed out on that opportunity. So it has helped me with FOMO.
Yeah,
a lot.
I think that is a really good bit of advice, actually, and probably wasn't something I'd never necessarily thought about from my own perspective, that was probably quite useful for me as well. Brill. Okay, we're probably going to go into the last sort of section now. So has there been any moments in your career where you've seriously considered walking away or calling it quits? So have you ever had any of those moments where you just like, this isn't working for me, I'm off?
Well, I had that moment at Liverpool, you know, when I came back from maternity leave, and it just wasn't aligning with where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be, or my ambition, which hence why I moved on. And I guess the reason I've had such a profound, I call it, relook at where I want to be is, unfortunately, and I'm sorry if I get emotional here, we had a quite late miscarriage a couple of months ago. And obviously with it being so late, I had to go in and
it's okay. Take time.
Had to go in and, you know, birth and go through all that. And I guess that's what's got me thinking about life and what's important. And then shortly after that, I was unfortunately made redundant. And I think that made me think, made me think about how much I was giving to a workplace and what I was getting in return. And I think when you've gone through something like that as a family, you really do reevaluate like what you want. And that's why now I want to work with something that's got a purpose, that has an impact, and with people that are also like want to achieve something. And I think that's why just recently I've had like this sort of, well, I started doing all the woo-woo stuff we talked about with my goal setting and everything, because, you know, I've thought about what is life, you know, having gone through that. And what matters most is like the family and the people around you, because when you go through something like that, they're the ones that are there to support. Like workplaces aren't, like, no, you're gone and they don't, you know, a few weeks later they you know, they don't remember you, or they do remember you, but they're not the ones that will support you through that. And I think that's why it's really key to work somewhere and with people that are aligned in that mission, and why I'm now protecting my time a lot more.
Thank you for sharing that. Same. Wow. Okay. So I think in terms of what you've just spoke about there and sort of what's next for you, how would you summarize just what the next couple of years look like? And obviously I know that at this point in time, you're currently assessing where you go from a career perspective in terms of a specific role, but what does life look like for Louise now?
Yeah, I'm going to get back to some of the things that I like doing and some of the things that are good for me. So that's spending time with friends, that's going back to hockey and exercising, that's looking for opportunities to work with people who who are aligned with my thinking. Like, I love networking and I love the community aspect of women's sport. So that's something that I'm really exploring seriously around how I can add value with all my experiences, you know, having been an athlete, having worked at a governing body, I've worked at a rights holder, I've now worked at a brand. Like, I feel like if you give a lot into the world, you'll get lots of good things back. And so I believe now in karma, and I think that's where I want to go forward with contributing and helping other people grow, and then that will also help me grow. So yeah.
Amazing. We're going to finish off with a quick fire 5 questions. All of the answers will be numbers. So be as honest as you can. There is no judgment here. It's a safe space, and hopefully everyone listening will agree and will hard relate some of these numbers. Yeah, answer as quickly as you can. Okay, so on average, how many hours sleep do you get a night?
8. I love sleeping.
And
my daughter is, apparently you don't get the 2 of them, so my daughter is an unbelievable sleeper. I'm very lucky. I don't think it's anything I've done.
I'm speechless. I'm jealous. How many times have you asked ChatGPT for parenting advice in the last 12 months?
Oh, countless. I've run out of subscription.
You've used all your tokens.
Yeah. What are these spots she's got? What does that mean? It's catastrophic. It's frightening.
It's actually really scary. They obviously always say to you not to Google symptoms, but this is that 10 times worse. And I use it almost every single day. Why does my child not sleep? Does my child hate me? All of those. How many times have you missed the memos from nursery or preschool to wear a certain colour?
I don't think I've ever done it. It was pajama day the other Friday. We didn't put her in pajamas, but I think she's used to it now. She's just like, everyone was wearing pajamas. I was like, yours a bit like pajamas.
I actually do need to know how anyone that's listening to this podcast that's actually been able to nail that. We need to know about it, because how do you remember that? What and when are they preparing these, like, nights in advance? Are they?
Well, book day is one of the worst ones, because that you have to put effort in, and I'm just like, my poor daughter, like, she doesn't.
No, I just
can't remember it. And then there is an app. We have an app at our nursery, which is really good, but then I miss those as well. Or I see it and then I don't remember.
Yeah,
it needs to be like, when we wouldn't remember all our meetings we had, so they need to put the meeting in the diary, 7 a.m. pajama day. It needs to, like,
and it needs to alert you before you leave the house.
Yeah, they need to put it in as a calendar invite.
We could probably just do that ourselves, but
no, that involves an extra layer. Yeah,
who's got time for that? Okay, how many things have you missed of your kids in the past year because you had to work, like stay and plays or anything like that? Have you missed anything?
Yeah, and I've got to miss. They're doing a graduation at nursery, and I'm missing that. So I'm gutted. Like, I don't know why they're doing it, because also she's graduating in July to go to primary school. But I've also got to put her back in nursery because I don't have cover for the whole of the summer. So we're doing a graduation party, and then she's still 6 weeks.
Is she in the nursery that she's going to the school of, or is it separate?
It's a different one. We didn't get our school choice, which is a whole nother topic.
It is.
We got our third choice. Don't know how that system works. So it just means it's much further away for us to drive and get to.
You've got to
another thing, we can't walk, or the grandparents can't easily get there. So that's another thing
it's so tough. How many times in your career do you feel like you've been treated differently because you are a parent?
Now, this one, I don't know if you've been treated differently or if it's my perception or feeling that I've been treated differently. But I can definitely say there's been 2 major times that I've felt like I missed something or was treated differently because being a parent or being pregnant Yeah.
And that, even if that's not a fact, because you don't know for sure if that's a fact, the fact that you think it could be is sad enough.
Yeah.
Because that's how that's the perception. And because you were at one point not a parent, how you felt. And that's just the reality of it, isn't it? And I think that is something quite hard for me to admit and say out loud, that I was once that person. That not necessarily, never have I not given somebody something because of that, but I thought differently about it. I didn't understand the value that it added rather than the opposite. So no, I think it's so hard. This was meant to be quick fire, but there was nothing but Quickfire. It was absolutely fine because it was great. So Louise, thank
Each
you.
one's got like a caveat. hasn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. And I think the idea of the Quickfire element was that it's the numbers bit, but the reality is there's context, and that is the same with all of this. It's like there's no perfect situation, and a lot of it just needs to be like that. You just need to get it out and say it out loud to somebody that so understands it, and that's probably the reason why we're doing this, right? Is because there's just not enough of that. Louise, thank you so much for joining me. I think if just one person listens to this podcast and benefits from the story that you've told today and feels a little bit better about the choices that they've made or the choices that they may make, I think we've done good work here today. And yeah, you should be so proud of yourself for sharing your story. And thank you so much. We've loved having you and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you. Good luck.